Morning, first grade. Today in math, you are going to need your guided class practice, and you will also need to make sure you have a pencil. And that should be about it for math class today. Today, we are going to be looking at dividing things in half, dividing specifically a square in half. Yesterday, we took some shapes and we divided those shapes in half. We had our heart and our circle and our triangle and our rectangle. We divided those things in half. And when we divided them in half, that meant that they were equal. Both sides were the same size. Now today, we are going to have a square. And this square and this square are the same size. How could I prove that? I can prove it by putting them right on top of one another. And so you can see that my squares are the same size. Okay, now what we're going to do is I am going to fold the square into two pieces. And when I do that, I'm going to take it from the one end to the other. And when I divide this square in half, you can see that there's nothing left on either side of my line. Okay, so now I'm going to take this here so that you can see that I have now divided it in half. Okay, now I can divide it in my square in half this way, which is the same thing as dividing it the other direction. But besides that, I can also have my square and I should be able to divide it like a triangle where my points meet up. And so there are two different ways to divide a square. I can divide it in half up and down so that we have rectangle looks on both sides, or I can divide it the other direction so that I have triangles on both sides. Now, are these pieces the same size? Yes, they are. Okay, now your last step would be to shade. And if you're shading it, you're going to shade half of it, which means you're going to shade one out of the two pieces. And so if I'm shading one out of the two pieces, it means I'm shading one of them. And when I do that, that's called 1/2. Okay, do the same thing over here. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter which half. Just know that those are both 1/2. Okay, this is two ways to show 1/2 of your square. Now, the last step would be to actually cut these pieces. So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut these in half. You always cut them the best you can. Okay. Now, I have two small triangles and I have two small rectangles. But I can put them back together, can't I? I can put them back together. And now, I can use my triangle pieces to make a parallelogram by how it's sitting, can't I? And I can use these two small rectangles to make a long rectangle here. And you can see that I still have half, don't I? Half is shaded in. Half of my parallelogram is shaded in as well. Okay? So today we were working with shading things in half, cutting them in half, dividing them in half. And we're going to practice that on our math sheet today. So go ahead and grab your math sheet out. On your math sheet, you need your name and you need your date. Today's date is October 8th. 2020. October 8th, 2020. OCTOBER, October. We're going to move on to number 1. If you're not quite ready and you're still writing your date, go ahead and either do one of two things. Finish your date at the end or push pause and then come right back. Susan has 2 new pencils and 3 old pencils. How many pencils does she have? Draw a picture and write a number sentence for the story and write your answer with a label. Okay, so she's got 2 brand new sharp pencils. Does not have to be anything fancy, you guys. And she has 3 old ones. Probably means that they're a little shorter, right? Maybe they still have a nice tip on them, but they're shorter. So 2 new pencils and 3 old pencils. We want to know how many total pencils she has. So I'm going to start with what I know. 2 pencils. Plus, we have to add the old and the new, 3 pencils. Now you'll notice I didn't say 2 new pencils and 3 old pencils because what it wants to know is how many total pencils she has. Equals how many total pencils? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pencils. So then what is my answer? My answer is 5 pencils. Do not forget your label. Write the answer with a label. The label is pencils. Okay, if you need to finish writing, you go ahead and you push pause. If not, we're going to keep moving on to number 2. Write the even numbers from 0 to 18. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18. Now we have to write the odd numbers from 1 to 19. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19. Nice work. Remember that if you need help with those, you go ahead right to your red folder, and your red folder can be your helper. Especially because you should still have your odds and evens paper in that folder. Number 3, circle the greatest number, 47, 43, or 49. Now notice they all start with 40s. So look at the second number, the number that's in the ones spot. Which is the biggest, 7, 3, or 9? 9 is, so 49 is your biggest number. It's your greatest number. Show 2 different ways to divide a square in half. Well, we just went through this, didn't we? One way is for it to be divided diagonally. One way is for it to go up and down. Remember, you could have also chosen to go across. Now, we have to shade 1/2 of each square. You can just use your pencil to shade it in. If you really want, you can grab out a colored pencil or a crayon, but please do not use marker for this. You have to shade 1/2 of each of them. 1/2 means one of those 2 pieces, right? Now, we have to number the clock face first. Hopefully by now you're starting to get really good at numbering your clock face. Do not forget that step. It's important. It says it's 12 o'clock now. That doesn't say right 12 o'clock. It's 12 o'clock now. Show the time 1 hour from now on both clocks. So an hour from now. What time will it be in an hour? Well, after 12 comes 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. So I'm going to make my minute hand go up through my 12, and my hour hand, shorter, is pointing at the 1. Nice work, friends. Okay, then when you're done, the back side is for you to do. You can see that on number 2, you have to go backwards and fill those missing even numbers, going backwards. Don't forget, number your clock face. 1 hour from now. Okay, those are important pieces. Don't forget name and date. okay? When you're done, go ahead and put this in your folder, and you're done with math for today.